What we're going to do today, we're going to actually show you how to repair an ice machine. This is what we call a standalone ice machine. We have everything hooked up. The problem that they have is not making ice. What we're going to do is go ahead and turn it on. So we turn the ice machine on. We'll give it a few minutes to actually go through its cycle. So what it's doing now, it's actually letting water in. If we can see that's actually letting water in right there. So we're gonna let it fill up and go. Okay, how does ice maker work? When you first turn it on, it's actually gonna let water in to actually clean off the plate or anything. And if you look down there, it's actually draining. So what it's doing is running water, just trying to clean off the surface, the plate. And the water is constantly draining. Right here, we just got a drain line right here to our floor drain. But what you would have, this would actually be connected to your actual drain at your house, up under the sink or drain. So what it's doing now is actually going into the actual freezing section. But now it's trying to freeze. So what it's done is filled up with water. Now it's trying to freeze. Okay, how I know it's in the section where it's trying to freeze? Because if you hear, you can't, it's real quiet. The actual compressor is running. It's real quiet. You can't really hear it. I can actually hear that. I can see the condenser fan turning, but that don't necessarily mean the compressor is turning. And what I can do, I can just find any wire going to the compressor, like I told you, and put your amp clamp around it. And I make sure I got above 0 amps. I got 2.9 amps. Right now, don't worry about what the amp reading means. You just want to know that you got more than 0. You got more than 0, you know that compressor is on, so it's in the cooling state. So it should be getting cold. I come here, I'm looking, I don't see the water. It's a pump that sets right back here. It's a pump that sets right back here, called a circulation pump. That should be taking the water that's inside that tray and putting it across the evaporator. I don't see that, I don't hear that pump turning, but I want to make sure that the evaporator coils are getting cold. So I want to make sure I don't have a sealed system problem. Remember, just like a refrigerator, we want to check and make sure that we don't have a sealed system problem. We want to make sure that the condenser fan is turning. We saw the condenser fan turning. Make sure the compressor is on. The compressor is on, because I checked it with the amp clamp. Now I need to look at the frost pattern on the evaporator. The evaporator here is the actual part that actually get cold. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to take this little panel right here off, take a quick look at the evaporator. Okay, now let me get some. Now I'm actually looking at the evaporator, which is right here where I got the screwdriver. That plate's the evaporator. If you look up here at the top, you see where I just moved the screwdriver, so I kind of moved some of the frost. If you look there, we got frost forming across that evaporator coil. And you see it's frost, and the frost I'm talking about is right here, all the way up there to the very top. I can actually see frost forming. So I know I got frost across the whole evaporator. So that let me know there I have a good sealed system. That the compressor is working. I got a good sealed system. But there's no water coming across there. Water should be running across there and falling back down. Water should be running across the top of that evaporator and falling back down here. And when it falls and running across the evaporator, because it's below freezing, it's going to actually make ice form. And then once the ice get to a certain temperature, it'll go into a harvest. And what it'll do, I'll show you on the diagram. It's kind of like a heat pump on a refrigerator. This one is where it actually turn the actual evaporator into almost like a condenser. It has a hot gas valve that'll let hot air let the hot gas that usually be going to the actual condenser come up here to the evaporator. When that hot gas hit the evaporator, it's gonna make the evaporator warm up, and then that sheet of ice is gonna slide off, fall down to right here, what we call our cutters. Right here, you see all those little metal lines? That's actually a little heater. And what happened, the sheet of ice is going to fall on top of that. When it falls on top of that, this right here get hot and it cuts it, and you see it cuts into all those little cubes of ice. So that's a cutter. All right, so we're going to now address why we don't have water circulating. Okay, what we need to do now, I actually took the cover off, and that's our circulation pump. And you see those wires coming up here on that circulation pump right there? What we need to do now, I need to check and see if I got 120 volts coming to that actual motor. If I'm getting 120 volts to that actual motor, and the way I know it's 120 volts, we look at the schematics, and the schematic tell us what voltage is supposed to be coming there. As long as I'm getting 120 volts to that motor, that motor should be turning. If it's not turning, I got a bad motor. And that's how simple it is to test the motor. Check and see what voltage should be coming to it, and then from there, you want to check and see if you got the correct voltage. If you get the correct voltage and the motor is not on, you got a bad motor. If you don't have the voltage there, then you need to see who sends power to this actual motor. And from there, you need to check from the actual device that sends power to this motor. You need to then check and see if power is coming into that device. And then you want to see if power is coming out of it. If power is coming into it and it's not sending it out, that device is bad. But right here, we're going to check the motor first. And like I say, what we're going to do, we're going to take these, and where these devices are, you see that little hook? I'm going to actually turn this, hook this hook around one of the wires, and that little pin, I turn this little knob, and it make that pin go up and pinch the wire, and then I can actually plug this right here into my actual meter. Go online, Amazon, you can find these, they wire pinchers, they use them a lot in automotive. Buy you a pair, and it makes it real easy to get and probe stuff in these tight areas. Okay, as you can see, we have our probes probed into the wires, our white and our blue wires, and we know that from looking at schematics. And we come here, we're getting 120 volts. So if I got 120 volts, but that motor isn't actually turning on and pushing water out, right there is just the water inlet valve just turned back on. And if you see right there, our motor is off again. That let me know that I got a bad motor. No need to go any further until you get that motor fixed. No need to try to test anything else until we address that motor right now. So we need to address that motor. We're going to get us an actual motor to go in there, and then from there we'll come back and put it in and see how it works. Okay, we have our new pump we're going to put in. And right here, it's not but 3 screws to hold it in. 1 screw there, that screw in the back wall. So you see the screw here, a screw there on the back wall, and a screw right back behind there, which is this screw right here. That screw you see right there. So I'm just gonna take those 3 screws out, and it's just a plug. The plug's right in. That's it. Am I gonna and we have a water line that actually goes right there. They need to connect, and we have this water line here to actually connect also. So it has a little place where that'll connect. So once I get it out, I'll show you that little water line. But sometimes to make this a little easier, we'll take this and drop the actual pan right here. So we're gonna come right here and just drop that pan. Take these 2 screws out. Give myself a little bit more room. Then y'all can see the actual water line that actually connects in there too. And to get the water out the pan, you just unscrew that right there, that little cap. Okay, we took the plate off, and that's the water line I was telling you that connects right there at the bottom of the pump. So I'm gonna take that screw out there in the back, the whole thing will come on. Okay, here go our old one. It's in pretty much bad shape. The actual plug was stuck in there too. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Let me make sure it didn't. I see this plug right here, kind of stuck in there. I'll make sure it didn't pull the old one out. Okay, if we look in there, it did break that one pin out right there. This is an issue you might have from time to time. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna actually use what we call a butt connector. I'm gonna put a butt connector on this one right here to actually I'm gonna put cut the wire right there out, put me a butt connector, and I'll butt connect it to one of these. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. This right here is another little trick. The screws that go into this ice maker is actually stainless steel, so the magnets don't hold them. So I gotta get screws right here in the very back on those. And a good trick is just put a little tape on the edge of your drill bit right there around the screw, and that'll hold it. So once you get it in there, you don't have to worry about falling down. So if you're dealing with stainless steel screws, just keep you a little bit of tape. Put the tape on it like that, and that'll hold your screw in until you can get it started. And right here, they have a couple of components inside the ice machine. You see right there at the very back, that's the actual water inlet valve. And right there with that little red connector, that's your hot gas valve. This is your compressor. Right up there is the actual condenser fan and your condenser. I showed you all the heater. You got two thermistors there. And this is where your control board is sitting at right there. And a little bit is going to be cold enough to actually let some ice run through. You see it's starting to drop ice, and what happens as the ice starts to drop and fill up in here, that's what helps keep the bin cold. So I'm going to let it harvest one more time, put it back together, and then I'll clean it out, and the homeowner can come pick this one up. Okay, it just sent the hot gas. It's ready to harvest. So you see that? The hot gas just hit the evaporator plate. You can see that big sheet of ice slide off. There you go. And it's gonna sit there, and the cutter is gonna cut it, and they're gonna keep on. So it's working. I'm gonna put the cover back on and let it go ahead and make a full bend, so when the customer come here, they'll see that everything's working fine.